This tutorial was brought to you thanks to the supporters on the screen. Check out TAPgiles.com to find more Dreams resources, donate to support my work, or engage my services to get private instruction or help on a project one-on-one. I'll talk about an effect I used for this, which is kind of cool and very simple way to make kind of an abstract animated visualizer. I'm going to generally talk about a setting called Fleck density and having low Fleck density and then using that for different things. With brush flex, if you hold lightly, now it's doing a less opaque thing, and then when you hold more strongly, then it's doing a more opaque thing. And with draw flex, if you hold it lightly, it's doing a thin line, and hold it strongly, it's doing a fat line. But if you hold X, then it just does the full thing every time. So that's what I'm tending to do when showing these things. So let's just make a line. And now we can give that lower Fleck density like that. And now we have a dotted line, which is cool. What if you wanted a dashed line? So it would look something like dash, 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 like that. But then we can't kind of animate it or do much with it. It's just kind of stuck like that. Whereas with this, we can then animate it and have it moving along. So let's scope in. Problem that you can't actually see the in-between dots, but we can adjust all this anyway. So what we're going to do is just tap R2 so we on this line, so we can see the grid size at this depth, and then we'll grab that with L1 and R2 to clone it, where we use right, and that kind of copies it beyond the place you're copying it to and makes lots of lines as if it was making the same move every time. So now if we do that a few times and then put it back down here, now those are kind of in here somewhere, like that. And now we've got dashed lines. So we made clones and each of them started like there, 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 and there. So now because we've got low Fleck density, the first one of the lines is there, the second one of that line is there, third one is there. And then for the second line, we got the first one there, and the second one in a bit there, third one in a bit there. So it's actually lots of lines put in the same place, but moved along a bit. And that means the individual flecks of this low density painting kind of line up and make these dashes. And then you can adjust how big the gaps are between them by making it more dense, so it brings it in, or less dense and it pushes it out. And you can still animate it like this, and they work perfectly fine. They will just kind of disappear as a whole dash and appear as a whole dash, but that's kind of, I think that's pretty good considering you don't have to animate each of those separate lines or anything. So let's make another line, and then the density. Now if you adjust this density over time, you're animating it. So if we just use a signal generator, which gives this value of percentages going between 0 and 1. So I'll plug that into there, and now you can see it's kind of animating. We'll actually do this with a keyframe. So we'll have that go to the lowest amount we want, maybe that, and then let's just keyframe it so it's higher and more dense, maybe to there. And now if you wire that into here, it's being powered more and less, which means it's being pushed to the place we recorded more and less. So it animates between that kind of minimum and maximum. Now if we go in here and turn on the grid and copy that down, then it's going to do the same for both of them, but if we move this along and rotate it around, like that, now they're kind of animating in opposition to each other, kind of the perfect symmetry. So now if we put them on top of each other, they kind of give these patterns. So if we turn that off so I can control it, then as we we kind of get these different patterns where they coincide and then go out of sync, and they got these double dots and things like that. So it kind of feels almost like a random-ish pattern. And you get these things where it's just individual dots at the ends but thicker in the middle, like dashes in the middle, and vice versa, and it kind of all adjusts. But as you get higher and higher, the thicker the line generally becomes. So as you get really high, then it's just a solid line. So if we turn that on again, so let's just make that go even higher. So you're getting these kind of weird, kind of trippy effects as it animates. So this is a new line. Let's just copy these out like that. So we can see how this setting affects all the strokes. If you lower the Fleck density, they all kind of line up because they all start and have the same length for each of the lines. Yeah, so it will line up perfectly unless we go to the animating sequence setting, and then when it gets to the end of the first line, it continues as if it was the same line, and then continues to like count up. So maybe there's a gap at the end of this one, so then at the start of this one there's immediately a new Fleck. But if we copied those so they're all on top of each other, now we get these even crazier effects where sometimes they're just dots, sometimes it's more than one dot, and these different patterns just kind of emerge over time until you get like more and more dense, and then it's just a big old line. So if we wired that into there, now we're getting this weird animation for this as well. So this can make animating a music visualizer really easy, and you get these kind of trippy effects very cheaply and simply. So if I bring in a piece of music and we just stick in a speaker gadget somewhere, then we can use this envelope. So I'll just find a good range of what this is outputting. So if we go into Signal Manipulator and Custom Remapper, we can see what the speaker volume is outputting and adjust it accordingly like this. And maybe we don't want it to do anything below that point. Let's get a loud bit. But you can also press Remap Thresholds, which uses like the maximum and minimum that it's got on the screen at that point in time, okay? So now we have that mapped into a percentage, which we can use to wire into that keyframe again. Let's have that affected less. So you can see it like reacting to the music. And you can like finesse this stuff as much as you want to get it to look really nice, or use different speakers for different instruments, or use the output from the instrument itself. So for this top one, I'll have it adjust the animation speed and see if that looks good. Yeah, so that's basically how I did that other thing. Yeah. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned something new. Go to patreon.com/TAPgiles to get 5 hours of tutorials early for $3. Here's a preview of what you can learn if you choose to become a supporter.